everyone. We're so happy that you're taking time out of your day to learn about resiliency during COVID-19. My name is Clara Rivera and I'm the Public Health Manager.
And I'm Hannah Middleton and I'm a counselor at University Health and Counseling Services.
So we're going to give you some tips and resources for the students here, for you guys. So let's get started. Are you feeling off balance? Well, you're not alone. COVID-19 has brought about rapid changes, which can bring about stress, anxiety, and fear. And the thing about stress is it can manifest in different physical ways that you might not innately think is stress, such as maybe your stomach feels queasy, you're having more headaches, you're just feeling off balance. It can even cause GI issues and other physical manifestations. Then there's anxiety, which can be mental and physical. I think a lot of people experience in that mental way of what if I don't get this done, or just that constant worry is just one way of that anxiety manifest itself. So you just may feel that your foundation's unstable, but while you're experiencing these wide range of emotions, it might just be ongoing right now. This whole situation and pandemic we're in is completely new territory. And even once this virus has passed, know that you might still feel unbalanced. And it's okay that your grasp and sense of control may feel just tenuous. This is new territory for everyone, your professors and instructors, your parents and family and friends. We're all going through this pandemic together, and we're all in this together. So let's take a moment to think, how are you feeling? Not just your temperature. I know we do that all the time, going into buildings, going into work, going into doctor visits, but in all dimensions of your well-being, take that moment and think about how are you really feeling. So whether it's pausing the video or just taking a breath, how are you feeling? So now we're going to go into tips for coping, practicing resilience. Me and Hannah are going to deviate up the tips. There'll be fun 10 tips and we'll describe those now. So tip 1 is give yourself grace. Stress, like I just talked about, and anxiety uses up a lot of energy. You might just feel completely exhausted by it. I know that when I'm going through a lot of stuff, or when I was in undergrad and applying to grad schools, I would just want to constantly sleep because I just felt this overwhelming stress load. You may feel even more unfocused and unproductive now that you're in a pandemic, on top of all of the normal stuff. Allow yourself to dial down your expectations of yourself and others a bit. Maybe before you were a research assistant, a server at a local restaurant, and you were able to handle a full course load of work. Maybe now that just seems completely daunting and impossible. That's okay. You don't have to do it all right now. Right now, we're all changing how we are and feeling like things are just weird, and we're adapting to the new circumstances we're in. So it's all part of the learning curve. And there's so many resources and tips, and people are here to support you through this. So just give yourself grace.
Okay, so for tip 2, we want to talk about your information diet. So what that really is what kind of media you consume and how often. Of course, in the age of social media and with so much going on in the world, it's really easy to just be bombarded with news 24/7. From different sources, some maybe news sources, others just people on social media. It's really easy to get overwhelmed. And of course, news sources often capitalize off of the fear that we have to kind of keep us engaged in their content. So it can just be this cycle of panic, fear, anxiety. So what we really want to go over are just a couple tips of how to take more control over how you're consuming media. So number 1, focus on facts from trusted sources. It's good to find 1 or 2 credible sources that when you're getting information, like for example, about the coronavirus statistics or anything, something that you trust, so you can kind of put your mind at ease and know that you're getting valid information. And then trying to limit your information intake. One suggestion could be maybe setting aside 30 minutes every morning to kind of catch up with the news so you don't feel like you're consuming all day just things that are making you anxious. Just being more intentional with how much you're taking in and when. And then just finding that balance in general. Of course, there's a lot going on in the world, but it's really important to focus on some positives as well. Kind of have that balance so it doesn't all feel hopeless. So moving on to tip 3, spheres of influence. So this kind of jumps off the last tip. There's so much going on in the world. There's so much outside of our control, whether it's the current health crisis, the current issues going on in society, political issues, all of that. It's really easy to feel like we don't have control and feel very overwhelmed by this and feel kind of powerless. So it's really easy to kind of focus on your own sphere of influence, what's within your control. That could be your own diet, your relationships with others, the way that you're taking care of yourself, of course, voting, political activism, things like that you can actually do in your community, and exercising your voice, and even just taking care of your health and following good social distancing precautions and all that. Just kind of focusing like, how in my current environment can I take care of myself? Making that world a little bit smaller and kind of just being present in your day-to-day can be really helpful.
Exactly. So tip 4, stay connected. Even if you limit how much face-to-face time you spend with others on campus, remember, connecting with those friends and family is super important, and it's more important now than ever to feel that connection. I know we all experience the Zoom fatigue, but try as much as possible as you can within your own wellness bubble of allowing it to stay connected to your instructors, classmates, and group mates, just to help you stay focused with your schoolwork and with your activities that you need to accomplish at hand. So some ideas would, I'm sure you already are mostly doing this, is schedule those video calls with family and friends. You know, if you want to do a house party with a group of friends and schedule that on a Thursday night, maybe that's a way of staying connected with your international friends that aren't here right now that you miss and want to talk to. Or maybe there's other ways to just say hi to your mom and dad who are probably worried, just as worried as you are about a lot of things, and just want to see your face and to make sure that you're doing well. Also, I know that right now everyone's thinking, or there's a lot of people thinking, how do I stay connected or build those relationships with my professors or instructors or other faculty? Because maybe you are applying to grad school or you are applying to medical school and you need those references and you want to have that developed relationship. Attend those virtual office hours or study groups. Email the professor and show them how interesting their research is, or find ways to just build that online connection to potentially help you with that next step. So on to Hannah for tip 5.
So we just want to touch on some tips for managing stress. Of course, there are a lot of different ways to manage stress, and it's important to find what works for you. But these are just some general, really simple tips for you to get started. So our first tip is to move your body. And this doesn't need to be like getting into an insane workout regimen where you're doing an hour of exercise every day. This could be something as simple as just a 5-minute walk. Getting outside and moving your body increases your endorphins, and getting some vitamin D is really good for your mood. These are just very simple ways to kind of get your body moving, get yourself out of that cycle of stress. So we definitely recommend finding a way to just kind of incorporate that into your routine as much or as little as feels comfortable for you. And then getting enough sleep. Of course, being a student, having exams, having homework, you can't always have the ideal sleep schedule that you want. And of course, sometimes it's hard to even sleep if you are experiencing stress, but we recommend that as much as you can tune into what works for you. Of course, the recommendation is 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night for young adults. I know sometimes that might sound unattainable, but just as much as you can, develop that sleep schedule. When you can get the sleep, try to get the sleep and just make that a priority. And then lastly, practicing mindfulness. So mindfulness in general just kind of means slowing down, focusing on the present moment. We do offer a lot of programs through CASE that I will touch on later in this presentation, of just how to get started. We have some workshops of just ways to build that mindfulness for yourself.
Yeah, Hannah, I totally agree with all these tips. I almost think managing stress is the most important part because we're all going to have stress.
Definitely. And then our next tip is just when you're developing coping mechanisms, watch for not so positive means of coping. A lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms can be kind of easy to build, such as sleeping too much, avoiding the problem, even using drugs or alcohol. Avoidance sometimes feels like the natural way to help our discomfort, but long term, that doesn't really help us build ways to cope with these things. You kind of, you can distract yourself sometimes, but to an extent, it is important to build coping skills. So if you're struggling to build healthy coping habits, like I said before, we do offer virtual wellness programs and other things that can help you build those skills. But a few suggestions that we have to get started are, if you're staring at a screen too long, of course, like, the media and everything, if you're getting too overwhelmed with that, you can take a break and move around. If you're worried about the news, try to tune out for a while, and you can practice some of those guided relaxation exercises that we offer. And if you're craving a change of scenery, try taking a walk. If you can't get outside, try to just focus on something enjoyable to you, like a book or a movie. Just little healthy exercises to kind of get out of your head.
Yeah, and so to create positive coping mechanisms, we're going to talk about some study habits. So tip 7, study habits. So do you usually study in a coffee shop or library? I know I used to all the time. Even now, or even when I'm as a working professional, I often go to coffee shops to just leave my personal space and focus in. I know a lot of people miss getting out of their space and maybe getting away from that roommate who will just constantly talk to you. But see if you can try to recreate that at home and try and set boundaries with those who you might live with. And maybe it's studying in a chair rather than on your bed or couch, or kind of creating an oasis in maybe a corner of the room where you would put on that Spotify coffee shop playlist. I know that's my favorite, or consider a white noise app. There's so many things that you can do to kind of cultivate that environment so that way you can recenter. Another one, do you usually study in groups? I used to study in groups all the time for chem and bio, just feel like help. So maybe try setting those up virtually. I think I touched on it earlier. Or even having just a phone-based schedule where you can set up that time with those group of people. Do you thrive on tight deadlines or tend to procrastinate? We're going to talk about this in tip 8 in scheduling, but think about how working with others or setting up a schedule can recreate this for you. Just make small progress and stay in touch. Say, for instance, if you have that 5-page paper, try not to leave it till the day before. Sometimes that happens, but if you can prevent it, and say you have friends coming over at 5 p.m. and it's 3:45 and you're done with classes, say, I'll give myself 45 minutes to at least outline the paper, or I'll give myself some 15, 20 minutes, can be super small, just to outline or jot down what maybe the first page will be, or the opening paragraph. We all know that sometimes is the best and like thing to do, just toggle it and toss it in your mind. So again, when that gets hard, see if you just do 15 minutes. So now we're going to go into scheduling. So tip 8 is really just about setting some type of schedule for yourself. As this pandemic unfolds and COVID-19 is constantly changing, it's so hard right now to schedule like 3 months in advance. Remember when we would all schedule travel and vacations, in June and July of December? No, not any. Let's not try and do that. Don't overwhelm yourself with that. Think about what you're going to do on a daily basis. Set those small schedule goals so that way you can maintain those social commitments and group meetings and work hours. As you can see in this example, you have a schedule activity column, course task, and personal self-care. And you'll see that maybe you don't follow it specifically. Like say you don't shower and breakfast at 8:30, but you get showered and and you get to your remote lecture at 9 a.m. and maybe you eat breakfast while you read chapter 4. You don't have to, it's not a hard schedule, but at least it outlines some time for you to mentally remind yourself of, I am going to have a video call with my friend Hannah today at 10. And that way you can, practice that self-care. And also include time for exercise. Exercise, like Hannah said, does not need to be going to the gym, pump and iron. It can literally mean you just stood up, did some stretches in your space, and walked around and maybe did a few shoulder rolls or something super minute like that. Right, Hannah?
Definitely. Yeah. Just making it small and attainable is the best way to start. So for tip 9, be productive within reason. With productivity, it's really important to find a healthy balance. So allow yourself to relax. You don't need to be super productive all the time, and it's okay to binge watch. But this might be a good opportunity with the extra time that we all have to put energy towards something productive. So whether it's setting a new goal that could be big or small, maybe there's something that you were meaning to get around to. Maybe it's academic related. Maybe there's just a new skill that you wanted to learn, exploring new hobbies, anything like that. Like we are saying with all of this, it doesn't need to be huge goals and huge activities. It could just be little things that you find enjoyable. But trying to have some productivity in your life can really kind of help boost that self-esteem and that connection to what you're doing. And once again, just having that balance. Also, maybe productivity could be seen as scheduling relaxation time, identifying healthy distraction activities. It definitely is productive to attend to your wellness. So in all spheres, just kind of trying to find what makes you feel more connected and better. So moving on to tip 10. So consider how you can contribute. In a time of feeling so disconnected, it can be really helpful to feel connected to your environment and those around you. So we wanted to list some examples of ways that you can connect your environment in meaningful ways, which can include reaching out to friends or loved ones. This could be whether you're checking in on them or you're letting them know how you're doing, or maybe if you want to reach out for help, just kind of keeping those relationships there. It could be advocating and volunteering in your local community. And it could be attending to your own health and wellness. Like we said before, that is such a priority right now. So just kind of thinking about what might be helpful for you. And then lastly, we want to touch on a few of the resources that CASE provides for wellness. We're including all the links. So a few things that we offer. We do have a homepage that has a bunch of COVID-19 mental health resources. This includes ways to kind of handle that unique anxiety that we're all experiencing. It has links for different mindfulness and relaxation resources. So that's just a pretty comprehensive list that could definitely be helpful, whether you're dealing with a quarantine on campus or just dealing with some anxiety about what's going on. We also offer individual counseling, and through that link you can find the way of how you get connected to that on campus. It's fairly simple to schedule an appointment for yourself online. We also have counseling groups and virtual wellness programs that can offer different tools and skills that you can learn. And we do have a page that highlights some of the guided relaxation exercises that we offer, just kind of to get started in that mindfulness. So we want to leave you with this quote: you have the power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.